everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk, and today we're doing another tech review and another Elgato product. This time it's the Elgato 4K60 S Plus. So, let's talk. As many of you know, on this channel we do game reviews as well as movie reviews and tech reviews, and this tech review is actually directly related to our video game reviews. As you know, we purchased an Elgato 4K60 S Pro a few months ago to help with our game capture footage. We did review that on this channel. Matt handles that on his side, connects right into his PC motherboard. I actually have a Mac, and at my house, in my office, which is right here, I have an Xbox Series X that I can capture on, but we needed the equipment to do it. So we purchased an Elgato 4K60 S Plus. Now what this does is it allows you to connect through your Xbox. You just plug in an HDMI wire from your Xbox or PlayStation or Switch or any gaming console, plugs right into that, and then you plug on the out port from the HDMI out port into your TV or monitor. I have an LG C1 that I have it plugged into, and just plug it right in and it should work perfectly. Whereas all you gotta do is put an SD memory card, make sure it's formatted to exFAT, and then you should have no problem. All the gameplay footage that you record, after you hit this red button right here, which is the record button, once you hit it, should have no issue recording any of your gameplay footage. This is where the issues could begin. So I just want to give you guys some of the negatives right out of the gate about this Elgato product. So we purchased this in hopes of being able to capture gameplay footage to give Matt a little bit of help on his video game reviews. I can review some games here and capture footage to help him out. And we purchased it, and the first one that we got about 2 weeks ago came out of the box completely defective. Couldn't figure out why. The reasoning we still don't know, because unfortunately Elgato tech support and their just customer service support, they had nobody to answer calls. I don't know why. Still don't know why. We never were able to get a reasoning. The only contact we were able to actually make with Elgato was through Twitter, and their tweets were 1 week apart. The first tweet was the day that we received it and I notified them that it was defective, and then a week later, after I had already received my new one from Best Buy after returning the original one, that was our only contact with Elgato. As far as we could tell, the thing did receive power because it would blink one red light as you plugged it in, but that was the only notification that this thing was on. Because another negative to this is that there are no switches to turn this on and off. Once the power is connected, the only way that you know it's connected, it will blink red every once in a while, or if you have an SD card like I do already inserted, it'll blink blue every once in a while to let you know that it's ready to record. And, you know, as far as like just because it's plugged in and powered on all times, you know, you could obviously move the wires, the HDMI wires in and out, but you don't really have any other notifications that the thing is working or not. So without Elgato's tech support and not having any assistance from them, we had to actually try and figure this out on our own. So we were swapping wires. I took this to Matt's house. Matt played around with it. He connected to his PC. He connected to his TVs. Still nothing. So we just assumed that I guess the power wasn't being directed in the right places, because it was receiving power for sure, because it would blink once. But again, there was no any indication of anything else. So I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that. That is a negative I have. I think that is the reason why this has bad reviews, because if you get it, it does work as advertised. That I can guarantee. It works perfectly when it works. So if you can get it on, you get it powered. Literally took 30 seconds to set up. When I got the second one, worked fine. You just plug it in, plug it into the TV. It will give you the red light indicating that it's ready to record. All you gotta do, touch it once, and it'll start recording. No issues whatsoever. But there is some little like glitches. It's nothing too crazy. It's not anything that's gonna like bring it down, but you're just gonna have to play around with settings. As far as like, you're gonna have to play around with some settings after the fact and as you switch, because you're not gonna want to run this entirely through your console at all times, because what it's gonna do is it's a 4K60. Now, if you were running an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5 or say you want to run it through your PC, because that is available as well. It has another USB wire to make sure you could do that. You just have to make sure that you go back in and adjust your settings, because when it's plugged in, it's going to automatically go down to 4K 60. But make sure you check that when you plug it in, because it could also go down to 1080p. That is another thing in the settings on whatever console you are using. Make sure that you have it all hooked up to run 4K, because it does kind of just change on its own. It's pretty random. And then once you're done recording and you want to go back, so you want to unplug your HDMI wire and run your Xbox directly into your TV again, you're going to have to go back in as well and change it to 4K 120, because it's going to be set to 4K 60 automatically. And whatever games you are playing, you are going to have to change it back to 4K 120. So what I would recommend is, at least if you're using Quick Resume in your Xbox, is closing out all your applications and restarting them, or simplify it and just restart your whole console right after you're done, because this way that'll avoid all issues and it will fix it. Just make sure you do a double check on if it's running at 120 frames per second. The LGC one that I have right here will tell me that it's running at 4K 60, and it didn't switch back to 4K 120 until I changed it myself. So you got to make sure you just play around with that, but it does work as advertised. All the gameplay that we have was captured on this, so it does work really well. You just got to make sure it works. And there's some other little glitches. It's something weird with Elgato's capture cards. I don't know what it is. We're still trying to figure this out, because Matt has the other Elgato capture card that we reviewed, and that one has an HDR issue where it doesn't display any HDR issues, where it doesn't look flushed out until the footage is captured. And then at that point, it's completely useless. This happened to us in our Tiny Tina review. That's why we actually used footage from 2K and Borderlands themselves, because our footage was completely useless. It was all washed out from the HDR. We don't know what caused it. On this one, it was the complete opposite. We would have the card running on my Xbox, no issues, but it looks flushed out, the HDR. It was very, just like how the footage would come out on the other capture card. So it's a weird glitch, but the problem was, yeah, it looked really flushed out on this TV, the HDR was all messed up, but the footage that was captured did not have that. So it was only displaying it to me as I was playing with these HDR issues, but it wouldn't show up in the footage, which is the exact opposite of what the other Elgato 4K 60S Pro was doing. So it's a really strange glitch. I have no idea what's causing it. At first I thought it was the TV, but the fact that we've tested it on a couple TVs with the same exact issue, and again, you know, 2 different capture cards from the same company, it's a very strange thing. But if you play around with the settings, it's just finicky, and I assume it's just because of the pass-through. You know, you just gotta make sure you stay on top of that, but this card does work perfectly, and at its price point for $400, it really should, because it's almost double the price of the capture card that plugs into your motherboard on your PC. And you have to buy the SD card separately. So that's a whole nother thing, and I recommend not cheaping out on the SD card, because if you do go cheaper, that can cause just more issues. Like, everything with this is very finicky, but it does work, and it works what you need, because you're not going to get another standalone capture card at this kind of price that does 4K 60 frames per second with very crisp and clean looking footage, I might add. So, you know, there are other options from Razer and stuff that will do in 1080p, but for 4K at 60 frames, you're not going to get a better option than this. And the hardware itself is beautiful. I love the finish on it. It feels premium. But like I said, you know, the lack of switches on it, the lack of being able to control it on your own, that it's just, you know, that feels like corners being cut, and I don't know what, you know, what technology inside the actual machine costs that make it do that. I assume you have to cut some corners somewhere to get it down to 400, because it is a very strong piece of technology that I am very thankful to have to help us out on this channel getting gameplay footage for you guys. And we need something like this to work perfectly. And you know, the issue is, of course, that it has to work. You know, we fell a whole week behind because of like getting the first one that was completely broken, and then spending another 2 days trying to figure out if it works well. Well, long and behold, the second one works great. The first one, on the other hand, did not work at all. So that's where the problem is, and that's the only negative, and I can see that's a negative that has happened to a lot of people, because the reviews aren't great. They're very mixed on this. So yeah, that's where the issue comes from, is that if you get broken hardware, you people are going to review bomb it. And I actually did too. I went to Best Buy and I gave this a negative review because I was very frustrated with how the customer service handled the whole thing. The fact that you couldn't get in contact with Elgato was very upsetting, and you know, unfortunately, like, for such a high-priced product, you should not have issues like this out of the box. Yes, it happens. You know, anything can come to you defective. It's not just, you know, this product, but at such a premium price point at $400, you know, you would at least want some tech support and customer service in case you run into these issues, to where I wasted a whole day and Matt trying to fix the problem because we just thought we were doing something wrong. And when we got the second one, it completely confirmed our problem, that it was just defective, because I'm telling you, I had this hooked up in 30 seconds, running perfectly, no issues except for like the little HDR settings, you know, and then just knowing how to use it. You gotta like kind of play with it yourself. But other than that, this is a great piece of product. This is a great piece of hardware. I totally can recommend it. Just go into it with the thought process that, you know, if it works perfectly. If you're having any issues, unfortunately, I mean, I'm hoping that Elgato gets a little better with this, but I had problems getting in contact with them. It's kind of frustrating. I hope that you guys don't have that same problem, but just know when it works, it works. It's going to do exactly as advertised, as long as it works. That's really the only thing. And if you have any questions for me, like say if you're having any HDR setting issues or anything like that, we're still trying to figure them out. Maybe we can communicate in the comment section below. We could figure that out, or, you know, amongst each other. That would be awesome. But as always, guys, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this tech review. We're going to be getting plenty more game reviews coming to you guys real soon. This week, yeah, we're going to be using our capture cards to bring you guys some gameplay footage and reviews of MLB 22 The Show and Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. So we got plenty coming to you, and these are going to be really helpful to us. But we want to thank you guys for being here, and as always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and you tell all your friends.